In summer 2024, Mark Thomas walked away from a multiple six-figure salary at Eames Consulting and spent 3 months on garden leave. Strict covenants, didn't even have a plan. He didn't have any co-founders in place, but he knew he wanted to start his own agency.
The greatest years that I was there was when I felt like I was part of a great team and I loved the people I worked with and we just had fun doing it. It sounds really simple, but it's quite hard to create.
By December, he had 2 co-founders in place and he was ready to go live. He designed a brand new leadership search firm aimed at filling a gap between the £150,000 and £350,000 salary mark in insurance.
My ultimate vision is I just want to walk into the office and be like the worst recruiter in the room. Come into an office where there's like elite level, like super elite people, and those people don't need managing. This is where I want to be.
The gap between contingent recruitment and top-end exec search, a space that no one was actually serving. By March, they'd won some work, but it wasn't enough, and the numbers just weren't adding up. Mark sat down with his co-founders and said, do we need to pivot? Do we need to change on this premium retained service that we're focusing on? 1 week later, 4 retained searches landed on his desk, and he hasn't looked back. 12 months in, they've grown from 3 to 4 to 6. They've done over $1 million in net fee income at 40% profit margins, and 75% of his work is retained. So this is Mark Thomas, and this is how he's built Invector in the last year. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Pleasure, mate. You got the uniform. We're in the same outfit in different colours, but I think you do wear this look every day. I fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of the uniform, but yeah.
This is my podcast. It's more my podcast uniform. I try and look the same on episodes now. I try and have like a look. Whereas when I'm just doing my normal day, I dress whatever I want.
Going for the Stephen Bartlett, all black.
Pinpoint. Yeah, slimming as well. After a week, I was on holiday last week. You need a bit of slimming. Nice. Well, mate, we've known each other for years, but it's the first time we've done this. So I've done a brief introduction. I always ask my guests, as you know, to introduce themselves. Give us the kind of high-level, today view of your business, and then we'll go back and tell all this story.
Yeah. So I'm Mark Thomas, founder of Invector. We are just coming up for 12 months old, so it'll be 12 months in kind of December, really. Just come up to the first birthday, and we are two businesses under the Invector Group banner. One which has been going right from the start, which is Invector, which is the leadership search into the insurance space. So typically kind of 150 to 350 retained search leadership roles, and I can explain a little bit about the kind of niche that we focus on. And then the most recent business is Invector Solutions, which is our statement of work consulting contracting business, which we launched literally a month or 2 ago. So that's very, very new.
Well, you're still here a year in.
Yeah, just about.
We were speaking at the very beginning. I saw you at the expo, I think, in Birmingham, didn't I? Last October. I always knew you had it in you to be a success, but I am really pleased to hear the first year's gone well. We'll go into it. So we met. I think it was right in the heart of the first lockdown, because when I launched the bootcamp, I think you bought it either through Eames or on your own. I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but you joined my training in the first wave, and you were. So what was life like for you there? Remind me of the role you had at Eames at that point.
Yeah, so you mean I joined Eames like 10. I probably had like 10 years experience. I had like a whole sale of a business and stuff before, which I can talk about if you want me to. But I joined Eames after kind of 10 years of working in technology recruitment, basically. So I'm a tech recruiter by trade, fell into it out after uni, marketing degree, that kind of stuff, and then did 10 years at a business called the People Network, which has now changed its name. Actually, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Finity or something like that now. With a guy called with 2 guys who joined really small business. I live in Wiltshire, so that this business was based in Swindon. So I did the usual kind of consultant all the way up through the ranks until I kind of became a director of that business, and got sucked in after threatening to resign, and then got given some shares of the business, told they were going to sell it, didn't ever think it would really happen, and it did happen. So I made a few quid out of that, which was good, and went through that whole sale process to a business per Temps Network Group. So that was good.
What year was that sale?
So that would have been So I was at Eames for 5 or 6 years, so probably 7, 8, no, maybe 10 years ago. So I was probably there for 4 or 5 years, and then got made a director alongside another guy called Chris Kent, who shout out.
Yeah.
He's still running that business now. So, so yeah, we did that, and we sold it, and we had an earn out for 3 years. At the end of that period, the two guys who started it, who I learned loads from, Graham and James. Graham was kind of my mentor, really. Like just figured out very quickly that he was the guy that was the kind of near on £1 million biller. Just sat next to him and absorbed absolutely everything he did. Took him on every meeting. Basically got him to close every client that I had for a few years. And yeah, it was a great experience. Like young in my 20s, earning lots of money, living in Swindon, which isn't that expensive. And yeah, it was great. What those guys left, actually, I mean, really random story. Chris and I had been on a stag do in Miami, landed, and both had text messages saying we need to come into the office. That's not exactly what you need after a stag do in Miami, but and they basically said, look, we're leaving. Their earn out actually ended 6 months earlier than ours, which we didn't know about. And they were leaving in like a week or two's time, and Pertemps wanted me to run the business and Chris to work alongside me with a third guy. So Chris and I at that point had been kind of having some early discussions about doing our own thing. So like even doing our own thing was on the table then, kind of 10 years ago. Yeah, we kind of walked away, went and sat in a pub for about 2 hours, and discussed that maybe it was probably better to try and run our own thing with someone else's money to start with. And so we did that. So I did that so I ran that business on behalf of Pertemps for 2 or 3 years. And then just outgrew it, really. And it was kind of 11 years in. Eames had been kind of chasing me for about a year or so. Got Guy Day, who was the CAO then. And then so yeah, eventually joined that business in the January, which is probably coming up for 7 years ago.
So was it 2020 or 2019?
Yeah, it was. So it was a year before the pandemic.
Right.
So yeah, I did, and the original role there was actually just to come and run technology and change perm. And so I was doing a lot of insurance stuff at the People Network, and that's how Guy got to know me, really, or heard about me. And actually we opened an office at Eames in Reading. So I did that for a year, grew that out, and then we were all ready for kind of phase 2 of the growth, and the pandemic hit, and yeah, we decided, ultimately ended up closing that office because there's no point having a regional office. Everyone's kind of regional office was their bedroom basically, so it didn't really make sense. And then, yeah, I was at Eames for 6 years, did various roles there, from running the perm team to kind of being the kind of senior appointments guy, really. That's kind of how I evolved.
What made you go and get another job, though, and not start before Eames? Why did you take that second opportunity?
Yeah, you mean, I knew you'd ask me that. It's probably happened to me about 3 times in my career. So like the plan was all, like, I come from quite an entrepreneurial family. My dad's had his own business, sold it, and so I've kind of been it's always been the plan, really.
Yeah.
But I probably knew this at the People Network, but I didn't accept it till maybe a few years ago. Is that I'm not the manager, right? I'm not the operations guy. Like you probably know this from us speaking.
And I'm the same. That's why I'm lucky. You're on it.
Yeah. But I mean that's not me. Like I'm the guy who's out in front of clients, doing the sales, the face, the marketing, like all that's what I get excited about. Yeah. I can manage teams, and I've done it before, but it's just not what gets me excited. So I think I've just always been looking for that wingman who could do that part, because I never really wanted to just do it on my own. And it's just taken me a long time to find the person that I thought was kind of the right person. So yeah, the People Network, I kind of got to the point where I thought I was going to do that with maybe Chris or someone else. But then I realized that actually I'd only worked in one business. I kind of wanted to get to London, work for a bigger, more established business. The People Network was only 10, 12 people at maybe 15 at its peak. It was quite small and focused around Swindon. So actually, it was a great move. Like, I loved my time at Eames. Like, it was, we had 5 or 6 years there. I learned absolutely shed loads working for that business. Like, really good branding.
Well, they were our probably biggest competitor at Venquis and my boss had left Eames to start Venquis, and so I kind of knew a lot about them from that, and we always aimed to beat them, if you know what I mean. But when I actually then started Hoxo and met Matthew and actually interacted with Eames, the business was a really well-oiled ship. I thought it was really organized, seemed really professional, and you guys just had such ingrained relationships in the market, like in the insurance market. I think Matthew, the Eames name was strong, right? And I can't imagine the People Network was that kind of company, was it? It would have been more.
No, it was really smart, and it wasn't insurance specific either. It was a tech business, and there were loads of good things. When I look, like, the crazy thing about the People is they didn't focus. They didn't have a narrow focus. So, like, as a consultant, you kind of ate what you killed, basically. So if I went out and won a client, that was my client, and all the technology roles that came in from that client were my roles. So you could be working on a real, like, one, I don't know, software developer on a Monday and a project manager on a Tuesday. Like, it was really that much variety, but you owned and won that client. It really hindered the growth, actually, because it was really hard to, like, people struggled in that environment. So, like, because it was just too much variety. The flip of that is, if you were good at BD and you could, like, in 10 years, I didn't get past one client, like one job. Like, every job I worked and placed was something that I won off my own back. But if you survived through that kind of,
yeah,
you turned into a real BDer, which when I joined Eames was actually, I didn't quite realize how good I was at that stuff until I joined Eames. And actually there was a lot of people there that were still good at BD, and there was amazing people there. That was actually the best thing about joining it. I looked around and thought that I'm finally surrounded by, I was the big fish in a small pond for a long time at my old company. So yeah, but yeah, it created a handful of good people from being just great at BD. So when I joined Eames and there was the rep and you could do BD, it was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. So when I remember we had a chat in 2020, because you took on the boot camp and you did pretty well with it, right? So what impact did that have on you? Because you launched your LinkedIn brand, you launched a podcast, like, you went all in with the things we taught. I remember I threw everything at those groups because it was like my first experience of training, and I remember you just soaked it up and asked loads of questions. You just did what I said, and what impact did it have?
Yeah, I mean, I self-funded that, actually. Like, so yeah, I remember, because I remember speaking to the guys at Eames, and it was obviously not a great time to be spending money on a course, because like, we were going straight into a pandemic and we were making people redundant, and it was obviously nobody knew what was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I did a marketing degree, and I, like, in my head, I still feel like I'm a marketing type of person. Like, I enjoy that kind of stuff. So, and yeah, look, I'd seen what you were doing. I knew you. We'd obviously spoken a few times. I just believe in that kind of stuff. I think that's the way to go. And yeah, and to be frank, in the pandemic, I didn't have that much more other stuff to focus on. Right, like, jobs were a lot less than what they were a few months earlier, and so I just kind of threw myself into it, and it was massive for me. Like, it's more to the point, I enjoyed it, and I believe in that. That's the way to go. But yeah, the podcast, which I started at Eames, and we've kind of relaunched and rebranded since starting the new business, has been massive, really. Like, I mean, I don't even know what the ROI on it, but it's we're into, like, the hundreds of thousands of pounds. And same with the LinkedIn stuff. I've probably fallen off it a little bit, if I'm honest. And
Spoke about the time where you need to get yourself.
Yeah, I go through spits and like little kind of start it up, and then I fall off it a bit. But yeah, the podcast and just the general, I think for me it was more about just the general thought process about how you think about that kind of stuff, and, like, utilizing your network. And I still get it now. Like, people say to, like, ask me, recognize me from a podcast, which is quite weird, really. It's almost like you kind of, like, they know you without knowing you, but yeah, the power of that's
it works.
It got it. Yeah, definitely.
So, all right, let's get to the nuts and bolts. Like, when did you decide? Because I remember talking in 2020, I was like, you're good enough to do this. Like, I kind of felt like you were a recruitment owner already, and you weren't. And you were like, yeah, it's probably on the cards in the future, but not right now. And that was about it. And then you did it. You just popped up, like you say, I saw you towards the back end of last year, and you're like, yeah, it's going to happen. So tell us, how did you come to the conclusion it was the right time?
Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily it was the right time. It was kind of like now or never, really. Like so, look, everything was good at Eames. I'd done a few different roles and moved around a little bit. I didn't necessarily have like a really obvious place at Eames, because like that guy who just wants to go out and sell stuff and bill, but also is a director of the business. It like most people are managing teams, right? So that wasn't really their fault. It was really mine. I was quite undecided in what I wanted to do, and I think I went away on holiday with my wife. Just like we had, I've got 2 young kids, and I remember being on the plane, and then like kind of I think we just had 1 kid at that time, but my daughter was asleep, my wife was asleep, and I just had like about 4. I was going to Dubai. My brother lives in Dubai.
Yeah.
I had like 4 hours of like, and I just constantly was thinking about like what am I going to do really. I just came to the conclusion that I've got to change what I'm doing. I wasn't really enjoying it so much. I was actually I'd had a few like health issues as well, like just burnout type stuff. Really, I didn't get getting ill and stuff like that. And it was just that kind of seminal moment where you think I've got to make a change. And I just decided I was going to do something different. And I mean, to be fair, I actually went through it. Like I play a lot of golf. Like golf's my thing. So I spent about 2 months trying to look for a decent job in golf. But
Really?
yeah. Just I thought I'm just going to try and do something in golf. But yeah, it turns out golf doesn't pay anywhere near as well as recruitment. So unless you're a professional, which I'm definitely not. And so yeah, I kind of made that decision, but that was probably months before. And then I got to the conclusion that I'm going to resign, and I'm probably just going to. I'll have 3 months garden leave, and yeah, that kind of coincided with me kind of deciding I was going to do that, getting to that point, and then really bumping into kind of two co-founders, which is like just really opportune timing. Like Sanj and I have worked together a lot at Eames. He was at the point where he'd kind of made a similar decision without me even really knowing. Really, like we hadn't really discussed it, but we ended up discussing that we were both going to kind of end up leaving. Didn't really know what we were going to do. And Sanj is like the yin to my yang, really. Like he's he's a great sales guy as well, but he would never want to do this, for example. Yeah, he's the ops guy, brilliant manager of people, like the best I've seen. And yeah, so that kind of, we were at the point where we were going to resign. So then we started talking about what we might do. And then yeah, we we both kind of resigned without really having a plan, like, and then decided that
you knew you had some space. You had a couple of months to think.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got that much experience, 15 years in the game. Like, you're not under pressure to like rush it like some people feel.
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, you mean, so we, throughout that period, we then kind of decided what we were going to do, and we had a plan. And I had quite a strong, I'm probably more the kind of visionary type guy, so I had quite a strong idea, and Sanj agreed with it. And then randomly I got a phone call from Jamie, who's our kind of third wheel, who basically,
is he all right to be known as the third wheel?
You're donging that, the third wheel in that sense. But yeah, he rang me and said, look, I'm going to resign from my company. I kind of want to set up on my own. And what do you think? And so Jamie's like an out and out contract guy, right? Like, so he's
just to compete with Jamie years ago, like, directly. So I know exactly what he's like. He's good.
Yeah. So he's like the.
I think I tried to tap him. I met him for a beer to tap him up to work for me years ago.
Yeah, he's the epitome of a contract guy.
I was kind of where you were. So when I remember thinking, I kept hearing this Jamie Carr, and these people like, he's like you but younger. I was like, all right, I'll take that. Let's see if he's any good. So I pinged him a note. I said, look, should we have a beer? And I kind of pitched him the vision of what I was building at Vanquish, but I knew I was leaving. So it was like, I was like, what am I pitching him a vision to join a company for if I'm not going to be there when he does. So I kind of halted it straight away. Like I just said, mate, let's just catch up in the new year, because I was leaving at the end of January, and this was about October, I think. Bang on, yeah, about now in 2016, so a long time ago. But and then obviously we didn't do it anyway. But I know what he's like. He's got good energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, yeah, I won't bore you with all the inner workings and details, but the long story short was that Jamie was setting up. We didn't really have much of a plan, shared the plan, and Jamie actually was very close to setting up already. So like he only had a 1 week notice period, I think, or like I think he had a month, and they let him go after a week or something like that. He set the business up even before we had like really committed that we were going to do stuff together.
So he set it up, and then you had to effectively join that list.
Yeah, and I mean, we couldn't do anything for a few months anyway, because we were on garden. So I think he set it up in like September or something like that. And then we couldn't do anything anyway until December. So we had a bit of time to figure it out. And then we also like kind of the last kind of opportune moment was just, we ended up getting some investment as well from a guy called Mark Bailey and a business called 14, who most people might know Mark from a business called Henderson Scott, which he ran and sold. Mark was weirdly, my brother used to work for him, so that's how I met him like years ago. I actually just reached out to him just to get some advice. So I didn't know what I was really going to do. He tried to hire me a few times over the years, and so I'd met him 4 or 5 times. I kind of rang him just to say, look, this is what I'm planning on doing. Could you give me some advice? And he said, well, look, actually, I'm just in the process of setting up an investment arm that does exactly that, like makes investments in startup recruitment businesses. We had a few conversations, and the kind of rest is history. Really ended up investing in us, which basically just gave us the capital to, one, be a little bit that we're all kind of north of 35. We've all got mortgages, kids, and stuff like that. So it gave a little bit of comfort around that we could pay ourselves something from the off. But more to the point, it just meant that we could grow more quickly.
So what was the plan then? So at the end of the year, you took investment. What was the vision you gave to the investor for him to make a decision?
Yeah, it was a bit loose, to be fair, at the start, but the kind of vision that kind of we had with regards to certainly in Vector, like the solutions business came a little bit further down the line, but was always kind of part of the plan. But the way I see it, and this might be very different in other industries, but certainly for insurance, and you obviously know the sector, is that the recruitment space is kind of split into 2 parts in that are quite well serviced in my view in insurance. You've got the kind of the mid to senior end of the market, which is Eames and the other well-known names, Oliver James and Arthur, and these types of businesses that do a great job in the predominantly contingent space in insurance recruitment, which is 40, 50k to kind of early 100s, maybe mid 100s, something like that. And they do a great job, and they do a lot of business in that space. And then there's a total other end of the spectrum, which is the what is predominantly the Shrek leadership exec search firms and the boutiques that ultimately compete with them, which had a boutique search firm called Eames Partnership that did that. And they're typically looking. They'll look at anything, obviously, from seniority, but generally speaking, they're looking for stuff that's kind of 350k salary plus whole package on top. And the work they really want are kind of C-level type roles, CEOs, CFOs, etc. But then there's a kind of a little layer in between that generally nobody really specializes in. And most of the Eames type businesses have a guy like me or like Sanj or maybe a handful that kind of do that work and maybe do a bit of retained stuff, or do it contingent, but there's nothing really defined in that market. And whenever I was speaking to clients, at that level, they always wanted kind of a bit more than the kind of contingent offering, but they don't really want to pay like 100k fee for a 200k hire that they have to do for a Shrek firm or one of the boutiques that compete with them. So I just kind of identified there was a bit of a gap there. And actually, if we could design a product and an offering that that really satisfied that area of the market, that was basically had all the hallmarks of exec search, but just softened and lightened to make it more aligned to that level of hire. So rather than charging kind of 30% of full first year compensation, like a premium fee, but that is just based on base salary. So that for 200k hire, they might be paying a 50k fee. And instead of it taking 4 or 5 months, it takes kind of 6 or 8 weeks. And it's still underpinned by the data and the white glove service and the kind of retained process, but just all more aligned to that level of hire. Then actually there might be a bit of a gap in the market. So that was kind of the vision. I didn't really have that much evidence that was going to work, other than people telling me that they thought it was a good idea. So that's what we painted out to the investors. And the second bit was that ultimately contract is something that we're strong at as well. And actually, if you're placing a lot of those people, certainly in the change and transformation space, they will be buyers of statement of work and project-based services. So actually there's a very obvious pivot there into that market. And the last bit was really that most of those insurance recruiters do pretty much everything the insurance company would recruit. So risk, compliance, audit, finance, etc., technology, change. The challenge that I had, like in my last role when I was at Eames, it was really hard to articulate a lot of the time, like what we like, the breadth of that. Like it's a great offering, but it's really hard to articulate. So we made a very conscious decision right from the off that we would only ever focus on 3 verticals, which would be technology and all leadership, obviously, technology change, operations, so kind of CIO, CDO, COO, those worlds and their direct reports.
Is it only in the like Lloyd's specialty market, or is it all?
So yeah, in insurance, I think we do some general insurance and some insurtech, but broadly into insurance. So all insurance related. So that's our like first vertical. Second vertical is actuarial and pricing, which again kind of feeds into technology now, and because a lot of it's data related. And then underwriting, which is Sanjay's world, and that our expansion would be globally rather than kind of more breadth. So we have no real ambitions to do. There's loads of finance recruiters out there, right? And so we don't need to do finance or risk and compliance and all these kind of additional areas.
Yeah, don't do too many different things, but you could do what you do better and globally.
Exactly, and like obviously you know me, like I'm quite tech savvy, I think. I like to think I am, and so the kind of third pillar of the vision really was that like the days of a 50-60 person recruitment business, I think are kind of gradually dying out. So like it's not necessarily the best term if you don't know football, but like the term we always used right from the off is that we want to create a platform that's like super tech enabled, got loads of uses AI and automation, so that we can attract like the kind of Real Madrid of recruiters in that space. So those 1 or 2 guys in each of those organizations, we want to create a platform that means that we can get those people in and have a really kind of slick team of maybe only 10, 15 recruiters that are underpinned by technology that can all come in and bill kind of 500 grand to £1 million. And like my view is that if you get like A players in a business, A players want to work with other A players, right? Like they don't probably want to be training up the grad and like they're not the people. And if you do want to do that, that's fine. Like it's just not our business.
Yeah, but the cool thing about the way this industry works is there is multiple ways to do it, and everyone's got their own vibe. I obviously buy into your way, and I promote your way, and I believe in. I probably because of my own preference, 39 people down to 9, and I'd say I've got a team of 9 A players now in my business that are just awesome at what they do, and it's a different world. Like we can't hire juniors and train them up really in each role because of the nature of how we do it and the remote access and stuff like that. And yeah, we're slightly different than what you do, but I mean, there's so many people who get to where you were and leave. You've got to think, well, how can we create an environment for them to stay? How do you create an environment where they don't feel the need and they have to go and start another business? Like, because that's what everyone on this podcast has ever come from, doing well for somebody else and going on their own. So if you've got 10 or 15 amazing people working together and earning fuckloads of money, unless they're absolutely obsessed with being an entrepreneur, why do they need to go? Like, that's the kind of mindset because I think in a bigger corporate function, you're always going to get the politics that will make people think, fuck it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you mean I totally resonate with that, and like every top performer I've ever worked with just wants to be around good people. Like they lots of top performers get kind of, and I've probably been this guy. Like, they get badged as like almost like prima donnas or high maintenance or like those kind of areas. Like, I actually don't think it is that. They just want to be around people where they've got flexibility. They've got enough. I guess it's kind of flexibility, but enough rope to kind of be a little bit creative with how they do stuff. Like the things that's always like, I would never work. My wife works for Reed, right? I mean, good business. I wouldn't last 5 minutes there because there's just so many rules. Like,
yeah.
And actually, I want to create a platform that's like, it's got an amazing platform for you to go out and just be you and be creative and be like, and just get stuff done. And if that means like you've got to kind of break the odd rule here and there, then great. Like, just get it done. Like, and as long as you hire good, sensible, quality people, then people make good decisions if you empower them to make good decisions. Like, you and in our business, it's like you don't need to really ask permission to do everything.
Yeah.
Just go and get stuff done, and we trust you to make the right call because we're hiring super senior people who are super experienced, who are well respected, and their kind of ethos and their reputation in the market is worth more than making a stupid call. So,
and insurance is that market. Like, it really is that kind of place, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like, I mean, look, it's still very, very early days, but yeah, that's the kind of vision is like, get really deep in those verticals, make sure we've got them completely saturated. And there is a finite amount of people that we could hire into each of those verticals because we're obviously only doing senior level stuff. We don't do anything really under kind of maybe 120, 130k. Most of it's in the kind of 150 to 350 bracket. It's like 75-80% retained at the moment. We've done some contingent stuff when we got started, but the plan is for it to be completely retained by the end of next year, and then kind of phase, almost like kind of phase 2 or phase 3, whichever way you look at it, is to then go to the US and do US work, and we'll grow that way.
Would you have a boots on the ground in like New York or something?
Yeah, I think maybe longer term. Like, we've got a few options at the moment, but one of the like, I think we'd do it from the UK initially. Like, the plan is really, like, we originally said next year to do that. I think it actually might end up being more like H2 to maybe H1 the year after, because I think you can spread yourself too thin. Like, we're doing really well at the moment, but it's like tip of the iceberg stuff what we're doing. Like, the numbers we've done have been good and where we want to be, but there's still loads more that we could do. Yeah, look, the US, there's lots of things to like about the stories out of it, but I also think lots of people don't talk about how difficult it is to break into it. So
yeah, and just because you could doesn't mean you should. I'm interrupting today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Atlas Recruitment CRM. Admin is a massive waste of time for recruiters, and that's why Atlas, the world's first AI-first recruitment platform, is built for modern agencies who don't want to do it. It doesn't only track CVs and calls, it remembers everything. Every email, every interview, every conversation. Instantly searchable, always available, and now it's entering a whole new era. With Atlas 2.0, you can ask anything and it'll deliver. With magic search functionality, you speak to it and it listens. It finds the right candidates using real conversations, not simply look up for keywords. For me, this would be massive because I spend most of my time talking to my CRMs, talking to my emails. I'm just better with voice. Probably why I got into recruitment in the first place. Now, Atlas 2.0 also makes BD easier than ever because they've got an opportunity section where you can track, manage, and grow client relationships powered by generative AI and built right into your workflow. If you need insights and reports, they've got custom dashboards that give you total visibility over your pipeline. And that's not theory. Atlas customers have reported up to 41% EBITDA growth and an 85% increase in monthly billings after adopting the platform. So there's no admin, there's no silos, there's no lost info, nothing but faster shortlists, better hires, and more time to focus on what actually drives revenue. Atlas is your personal AI partner for modern recruiting. Now, Don't miss the future of recruitment. Get started with Atlas today and unlock your exclusive RAG listener offer at www.recruitwithatlas.com/the RAG. All right, let's get back to the show. Like, it just doesn't. And I've got a kind of a bit of a mantra in life now of like, do less better. Yeah. And the amount of things you could do, especially when you get more successful and more networks, the opportunities come constantly. Like, I genuinely think there's a new idea or a new opportunity I could come across every month now with JVs and things. And you just got to say no to most of it. You're like, taking me away from what's actually working. This is fucking working. So let's get into that. So go back to the start. You sign up the investor. There's you, Sanj, and Jamie. What was the target you set for year one? Because we're at the end. You're not a year in, but Jamie's pretty much a year in, and then you'll be towards the back end of the year. What did you say 2025 would look like?
Yeah, so like, I mean, it was we always had two targets. So like, we set ourselves a target originally, which was I think it was about 700 or 800K, like which was like fairly. There wasn't really much science behind it. Like, I think it was just like survival, really.
If it was three of you doing 200-300K each, good in year one.
Yeah, we hired one guy to do actuarial for us like relatively early on. So he started in like January, so it was pretty early on, and that was kind of wasn't necessarily directly the plan, but it was kind of opportunistic at the time. But it was an amazing hire for us, and he's been amazing. But yeah, and then I think we quickly revised that sometime in December, like to be just over £1 million. I think was kind of the target. And the thing is that in our market, you end up doing so like, obviously I've done everything from contract stuff that Jamie does to 250-300K CIO roles and stuff like that. What you realize when you start, or what I realized when I started the business, I came up with this great idea. We created a brochure, like the plan was there. Loads of people told me it was great. So I had my kind of 3 months garden leave, went at it in December, like we were talking about just before we started. December in insurance recruitment is quite a good time. Loads of people are out and about, and there's lunches every day. Up for a beer, yeah. I'm not a massive drinker, but like you kind of have to suck it up in December. But I did a lot of pitching. I mean, obviously we had pretty strict covenants for 9 months, so there were lots of clients that we couldn't speak to, and we were really adamant that we didn't want to break them just out of like, well, it was the right thing to do, but also we both, Sanj and I, both been at Eames for a long time, and we didn't want to kind of burn any bridges or anything. So yeah, I did a lot of pitching, and you get to kind of, and we won some work, but not loads. We got to kind of March, April, and I'd spent, I don't know how many meetings I did, but we're talking kind of north of 10 a week, face-to-face meetings, pitching the idea. And the kind of semi-frustrating thing was that everybody was saying they loved it. But we had not many people. You don't walk. It's not like when you do contract recruitment, right? You could walk into a meeting and walk out with 5 contract jobs. Like that happens.
This is surely about timing, isn't it? Because people have got to have the leadership role, right? You can't just float a leader in for 250-300K. Like, it doesn't work.
Exactly, yeah, and arguably you can't even really follow like leads in the truest sense, because actually if a CTO, right, not they get advertised that often, but if they did, then you're too late, right? You can't sell a retainer to a role that's already being advertised. So yeah, lots of people said they loved it, but not that many people bought in the first few months, and we did okay. Like we actually were probably always kind of there or thereabouts on target for the first few months. Which were relatively kind of low for the first quarter. And there were definitely a few conversations that we had like over kind of a lunch or like in late evening, which was like, you try not to be negative, but it's like, are we going to need to pivot and go back to almost kind of, because actually we turned down a lot of work that was in that sub 100K world, right? Just because we didn't want to destroy the brand before it even got off the ground. And then I remember having a conversation with Sanj about like, maybe we need to like, I'm doing a lot of this, mate. Like this is like, we're not really getting anywhere. And literally about the week later, I think we won like 4 searches. And then ever since then, look, we've had ups and downs. We've lost some stuff, but it's really just kind of gone up since then, really. So yeah, I think it was just a case of like you've just got to get yourself out there, and like you say, like you've just got to be front and center of mind, when those senior roles come out. And so yeah, ever since then, it's kind of kept going up and up, and yeah, we've kind of done record. I think every quarter has been kind of 25% increase plus on what it was before. I think we're probably hit, we're give or take, we've hit about the target that we wanted to hit for the year. Pretty much already. Like we're over $1 million. Yeah, I don't know the exact. Sanjay is definitely the guy to talk about the exact figures, but yeah, we're on
to $1 million in your first year is rare, right?
Yeah, I think we'll probably do somewhere between kind of, I don't know, 1.1 and 1.5, depending on where we land over the next few weeks. The beautiful thing really about retained work is it's so much more predictable. Like you mean it's almost like having a kind of 3-month contractor. So because you get obviously the retainer up front, you typically get the second part of the fee a month or so after that when you deliver the shortlist, and then you get the completion fee at the end, which is, I don't know, maybe another month after that. So you almost have kind of like even cash. Yeah, so you can forecast a lot more effectively. Now, look, not everything works out exactly. People cancel stuff and stuff like that, but fortunately, touch wood, we haven't had too much of that. And so yeah, we've got kind of a bit of visibility on like what the next 3 months look like, a little bit more predictable than what it is if you're just doing standard perm.
How does that feel? Honestly, how does that feel like to start a business and hit 7 figures in year 1? Like, I've not done that. I think that's, and I know I've had people on the pod recently that have done similar numbers, and in a market where people are complaining, mate, so many people say the market's dead and there's no business out there and they're claiming AI is killing everything. Like, I love these stories. So how does it feel to sit here and say that?
If I'm honest, until we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I hadn't really sat back and thought about it. Like, which I know sounds a bit crazy, but like you mean that look, I've listened to your podcast for since right in the early days, and I know obviously you know that, but and I've learned loads from it. But the beautiful thing actually about your podcast and what it does is it allows you to be a bit more open to understand what's going on in the rest of the market, and that's kind of why I listen to it, really. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just in your office doing your own thing, right? Like, you don't know what good looks like. Like, you mean you think you're doing okay, but that said, I'm still earning about a third of what I was like 18 months ago, so it doesn't feel like that amazing right now. But yeah, look, I think we've done really well, but like, you mean every week you think you're killing it. You know what this industry is like. Something will happen the week later where you don't win something you think you earn, you get knocked back down to earth. So there's been plenty of knockbacks, plenty of negatives. In some ways, like what I always say to the guys, I'm actually quite happy the fact that we've done those numbers by kind of a 7 or 8 out of 10 result in regards to not everything going right, because then it feels more real. Do you know what I mean? If everything goes right, if you get that kind of record breaking month because everything goes right, it's not real, is it? Like,
yeah, it's always going to be like,
yeah, exactly. So we've had lots of knockbacks, and look, that number could probably be 30% more if everything had gone right, but that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. So yeah, look, it's good, but we're really early on, right? Like there's so much more we've got to do.
If we go back to the year and the way you work, because obviously I know insurance more than most, but people listening might not know. Like, there's an element of, you've had to be in the city, right? So you've got a prime real estate office in the city by the Royal Exchange. Talk us through, for people that, like, how you work. How are you getting in front of these clients? How are you pitching? How are you getting to $1 million in a year and being on the ground in London? Like, talk us through that, because it's quite interesting, I think, the way the market.
Yeah. So like, the thing I love about insurance is that it's very face to face, right? Like, I'm sat here in our office in the city, and I can get to every client pretty much in like 5-10 minutes. So there's a lot of face to face stuff. So you've got to be in the office, which is quite a, like, I do 3 or 4 days a week in the office. I've got a 2-hour commute. that is a drain on your time, but for me, it's what I love about it. Like I love being face to face. I love the fact that I can be in and out a lot. So you kind of have to be here, which and yeah, like you mean, look, in the industry that we're doing now, and Jamie's to a even bigger extent, really, with the contract stuff, is like that they're out of the office. We're not sat at our desk that much. Like so a lot of it is face to face. But the difficulty in our market now is getting in front of people now is that much more difficult. In some ways it's easier because people like doing face-to-face stuff in insurance, like in compared to other industries. I imagine that people are much more open to it because it's very much the culture of the industry. But getting in front of people is or being visible when you're running a completely brand new company that nobody necessarily knows who they are is the challenge. So that's why, like, branding, marketing, podcasts, etc., all that stuff is like super important.
How much do you meet people on a passive basis though? Like, because that's, I think, what I learned in that industry with Claire and the team at Venquis was, like, we were always trying to meet people without, we could add value, but it didn't have to be like we were going to get something that day. So we'd meet
all the time
candidates with a long-term vision. We met clients with a long-term vision. It was more presenting who we were and what we did so that when the time was right. So is it still that mindset where you're not like
100%? My kind of thing, I mean, so how we split the like my job in Vector is ultimately what a lot of other people would have as a sales director, right? I'm kind of the face, as it were, of the company, and I go out and BD and meet people all the time, and that is, look, my patch is technology, change, transformation, that world. But I've learned, and I kind of learned this in my last role at Eames, but I now sell a lot of underwriting and actuarial stuff. So I'm out meeting people all the time, and basically my mission every day, if I'm not out meeting people, is to get more meetings. So like it's and that's in very simple terms, that's pretty much it. Like, I've got some kind of company internal stuff that I need to do, but other, like, the 80% of the time I'm focused on winning business. It's just about getting in front of people.
Do you have time to fill the roles, or is that somebody else's role?
Yeah, like that. So there's a bit of that. Like, we've got we've hired a delivery person now and we're going to hire a couple more in January, like researchers. Because obviously when you're doing retained stuff like that part of it is quite intensive. But obviously that those people are just doing the first kind of 25% of the role, really, and ultimately I meet every client, every candidate that I put forward. So if I'm not meeting a client, I'm meeting a candidate who in theory could be a client as well. So I've never really understood this whole, like, I think people get really focused on clients and candidates. For me, they're just like people, right? Like,
yeah, they're all
loads of people
in the right level, in the right type of business, right?
Yeah, and even more junior people, right? Like, you mean, you probably don't want to go and meet loads of, like, seriously junior people in my world, but like you'd be amazed at how many times, like, you mean, the junior people that I met 15 years ago are now pretty senior. So like, and so they're and they tend to stay in insurance. So like there's not really such a thing as a bad meeting. Like you all just, it's just building relationships. So I'd like to think that in insurance space, if you're a CIO or a CDO or something in that realm, you probably know who I am, or at least have come across me at some point. And if you haven't, it's probably because you've just ignored me and you don't want to talk to me or whatever. But I've probably badgered you at some point. Because that's just what the nature of the job. So yeah, like and even more so with Sanj and underwriting and stuff like that. Those guys are like, they're not really online. Like that's a very insular market. They do everything in kind of corners of coffee shops and private members club, and all this kind of, like, it's all very cloak and dagger type thing, because it's such an incestuous market. So your reputation in the face-to-face things, it's
and what about the broking space? Would you move into that as well or not?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of that. Like, to do broking, you really have to have someone who really knows that sector really, really well. So we will do broking.
That'll be a Galactico that you go and find.
Yeah, exactly. We've got one guy who's just joined us who does a bit of broking, but he's really an underwriting guy. So so yeah, it's definitely on the plan, but like you have to find the right person to do it.
So how much of your leadership search mantra, the way that you sell the process for clients, how much of that are you adopting for yourself to go out and win, to find the 10 people you're going to build the business?
Yeah, it's a really good point actually. Like in the first 6 months, not much. So everyone we've hired so far has come through like people we already know. And actually people, all three of them approached us. So that's been good. But yeah, I think as we go into next year, we've basically built at a high level a kind of a list of people that we know who they are. So like and who are good. And look, I think we're not going to be that business that hires 10 people in a year, right? Like it's just not going to happen, because I would rather us stay at 6 people and be super high quality at those 6 people. We only add people that are really in that top bracket, like without sounding like too overly like arrogant about it. Like, you mean, if you're like a 200k biller doing 50 to 100k roles, like this isn't the place like for you. There's definitely a market for that and you can do really well doing that market. But
what are you looking for then? So what is like the minimum benchmark, would you say?
So I think like we're certainly not in the short term. We're probably, or even the medium term. We're probably not going to hire people who are retained recruiters, because they're probably already working for one of those Shrek firms and stuff like that. So it would definitely be a kind of half a step down for them. And I think we'll get to that point 2 or 3 years down the line when we've got built a reputation. I think people will start to see that there's a lot of money to be made in the market that we're doing. And actually it's not as high touch, it's not as intense of a process, and actually you can turn over a lot more fees in a lot shorter space of time, without having to do, I'm probably a bit biased, but like overkill on a lot of those searches that really is not necessarily needed. But anyway, I don't think we're quite there yet. So actually, really, what we're looking for is people like me and Sanj, like who are working in probably a contingent recruitment firm, doing senior level stuff, that want to do something that's a bit more high touch and a bit more professionalized, with actually a really defined product offering and solution behind them. Because most of those people will be working for a contingent thing, just almost doing it off they're doing something that's better than the rest of the team, but they're not doing it it's not defined. They haven't got like a proper process and stuff like that. So
what would they be billing before for you to be interested?
I mean, we will. It's not everybody has to be like I think Sanj and I are both. You know, we were at Eames. Sanj was managing quite a big team in fairness, but I was probably doing 500-600k and still giving away quite a big chunk to other people as well. So yeah, I think it probably has to be like north of 350. But yeah, ideally it'd be like 400-500k biller that are used to doing CISA. But the most important thing is they're open-minded to kind of move up the curve. We're looking at actually kind of like we need to. I think I spoke to you about it before, but we're looking at doing some like kind of training and personal development stuff around like I think we spoke to the guys at Retrain Search. Because actually we've identified that those people, the biggest thing is a mindset thing. They're not going to take on the 20% contingent role at 180k, because that's not us. Like, but they're used to winning that work and filling it and making a 36k fee or whatever it is. Whereas we need to be able to articulate why it's important to do that retained, and those types of roles should be retained. Like you should do them on a retained basis with a more elevated service and etc. But yeah, typically that they're the kind of people that we want to move up the curve and work in a bit more of a elite kind of environment.
So why? There's a question for you then. Why do those people join you and not start their own?
Yeah, so I mean, look, there will be loads of those people that do start on their own, right? But typically we're trying to find the people that don't want to manage teams. So there will be people that are doing those numbers that have gone and managed a team that either have got pissed off of it and don't want to do that anymore. And if they don't want to manage a team, then they're probably not going to run it on their own. Now, they might go and be a one-man band, but they'll lack the infrastructure and the the platform to be able to do it. So
it's the camaraderie of people as well, and like surrounding yourself with elite level people. Like it's big.
yeah, exactly. And look, we're also very aware that people might come and work for us for a few years and then go and start on their own. And look, I'm actually pretty cool with that. Like, right, if people want to go and do that, and like we give them a platform to get the confidence to be able to do that, and so be it, right? Like, I mean, that's what I've done. And so,
Yeah, same.
So yeah, I think there's like, look, we pay well, but we made a decision at first that we weren't gonna overpay for people. That we had to create like a culture and a platform that people wanted to do. So we've invested really heavily in tech. So we invested in Atlas, which is a great platform, which is off your recommendation. And that's been amazing. And like, it's not perfect, but it's definitely getting there. And I love the way that we can work with those guys to help build what we want it to look like. For there are people that have invested in it. And we've invested in lots of other tech as well that and it's not necessarily kind of revolutionizing the world. I still don't think like AI is great, and it's definitely the bedrock of a good bit like boutique business now. But you can't beat the nuance of the human element of it. So like in our world, the quality and the greatness is in the nuance of why someone's great, and people hire us for our network and all that kind of stuff. So if people can bring that, and then we can underpin, like most of the firms, the big firms aren't there from a technology perspective. They don't have that. They can't move as quickly and as nimbly as what we can. So I think the fact that there's a platform, and also like we've also put in place, one of the things we did right from the off is like a profit share, like a bonus scheme, which so everybody gets paid really well anyway. But if we overperform as a business, we pay a chunk of those profits out to the people like that we've got, and that means that ultimately, like Sans, Jamie, and I earn less money, but hopefully it means that everyone's invested in like it's almost a bit like a partnership. Like, so everybody's invested in the business, and if we do really well that year, then they do really well as well. So like for me, like in every company I've ever worked in, the greatest years that I was there was when I felt like I was part of a great team. And I love the people I work with, and we just had fun doing it.
Yeah.
It sounds really simple, but it's quite hard to create. And if you can create that with great people, and everybody's looking around thinking like, I am literally surrounded, like, again, to use the kind of Real Madrid analogy, I'm sure back when the Galacticos were big, people used to walk into training every day and think, fucking hell, like I've got Ronaldo on my left and David Beckham on the right, and like this is where I want to be. And there's a reason, and more to the point, 20 years on, that's still got that feel about it, even though it maybe not quite is the case anymore. They've got that feel of like nobody turns down Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
So if you can create that, then I think that's way more powerful than.
But if you're only trying to get to 10 or 15 as well, like you're not saying I need 100 of these guys, because that's where I think people go wrong. Is the expectation, the expectations are so high. They just think, oh well, I need to be the biggest, I need to be the number one, and all these bullshit statements that they don't actually mean anything. If you can say, look, I think we can get to 10 people. And if 10 people are generating £500,000 on average, we're doing 5 million as a team of 10.
Yeah.
We're spitting out 50% EBIT on that, or 40% EBIT. 2 million plus EBIT off a 10-person team is insane numbers. Yeah. That is a great business that provides you with an incredible lifestyle, surrounds you with incredible people, won't have that much complexity that is too stressful. Like, it will be stressful, but in a different way. It's something people might buy. It's something you might not want to sell anyway, because you might love working it. What a business to build, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then look, if we get bigger than that, then great. But like, yeah, I think for me, like and I say for me, it's Sans and Jamie in agreement as well. But like the absolute most important thing, or two most important things, and they're kind of the same, but it's about external and internal. Like internally, that everybody that we hire is at least as good, if not better than the people. Like my ultimate vision is I just want to walk into the office and be like the worst recruiter in the room. If I'm the worst guy here, then we've done well. And I'm totally cool with that, being that guy, right? Like like that would be an amazing place to be. But like come into an office which people, where there's like elite level, like super elite people that are doing great quality work, And those people don't need managing, right? Like I mean, you've got to manage them a little bit and do the odd one-to-one, but no, great people don't want all that crap. Like they just want to get on with it. And look, generally speaking, the demographic of those people, like I'm not against hiring 20-year-olds. Like we've got a 20-something-year-old in the building, but like generally they're going to be kind of 30 plus probably. Like to think they've probably got their shit together. And it's the same externally, right? Like I don't need to build the biggest business. I just want to build the best business in our niche. Like and as far as I can really tell, like there's some of the Shrek firms do what we do, but they charge a lot of money for it, and it's they stick the junior on it because it's right at the bottom of their kind of levels. And the contingent firms do it, but don't necessarily do a great job on it. So we've got a bit of a niche, and actually, if we can just be, if like for me, in 5 years' time, if we've got 10, 12 people in London, and everybody just says, like, if you want to hire someone as a leadership hire in that kind of 150 to 350 bracket, Invector are the guys to go to. They do a great job. We stay in our lane. Like, if you want to hire a CEO or a CFO, we're not your guys, right? Like, if you want to go and speak to Russell Reynolds or whatever and pay a massive fee because it probably warrants it. But if you don't, and you want to hire great people in there, and you want to work with people that are the best, then that's our brand. If we can achieve that, then I'd be happy, to be honest, and we'd hopefully earn a few quid doing it. That'd be great as well.
You don't strike me as like the exit is everything. Even though you took an investment, you want to grow a headcount, a level of headcount. I'm sure an exit is something that could happen, but it's not what you're pinning every day on.
No, and I mean, we haven't even. I mean, we've spoke about it a little bit, and like, I mean, it'd be great. Like, I definitely, by the time I'm 60, I'd like to have a house in Portugal and on a golf course and do a lot of that. Like, but like, we spoke right about it at the start. Like, it'd be great to get to that point, but it's really about enjoying the journey. Like, I've had the best years in recruitment when I've enjoyed the day to day and the people that I'm around. I can pinpoint the years that I had, like, that I was happy being in the office 8 till People Network days. I'd stay in the office till 9, 10 o'clock and just really graft, is because I was surrounded by like 3 or 4 people that did it as well, and I liked hanging out with them, right? Similar years at Eames, and the years that I've not enjoyed it quite so much is when I've probably not had that quite so much. So I think if you create a great environment and you enjoy what you do and you work hard and you've got great people around you, that the exit will just happen. Like, it will just get there. Like, we'll do the numbers and we'll either exit because someone will make us a great offer, or we'll just earn really good money along the way, and we don't need to do that because it just becomes fun. And hopefully we get an office full of great people, and I don't need to necessarily do that much anymore because they're running it and they're making it great.
That's the goal. That is the goal. And I just want to touch before we finish on life outside of work. So you mentioned 2 young kids, 2-hour commute. How are you managing all that? How does that feel?
Yeah, like, you mean, look, I've definitely struggled with that, like, over the years. I think I said, like, when I joined, just in my last kind of year at Eames, I wouldn't say I was like completely burnt out, but definitely I've struggled with that kind of stuff before, just because I'm a bit of I'm like the kind of cut from the old school cloth of, like, just work loads of hours and don't necessarily look after yourself. So I've struggled a bit with that over the years, and I still do a little bit now. Like, I have to be kind of reminded by like my wife and stuff like that to kind of take a few days off once in a while and just turn. Like, I'm that guy that still checks emails on holidays and all that stuff, and I'm pretty bad for it. But yeah, I'm much better at it now. Like, I'm kind of I'm a bit more aligned. Like, I just make sure, like, like my things we've spoken about before. My things like sauna and ice baths. Like, since when I found that, like, I just, like, it was a real game changer for me. Like, I kind of do, like, I'm still not quite convinced my wife to get one in the garden, but like, it will happen soon. But yeah, like, I kind of try and do stuff like that. Like, the commute is a bit of a killer. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's.
How many days do you do you stay over in London, don't you?
Yeah, I stay over a little bit. So I typically do 3 days most weeks, but sometimes it's 4, depending on what I do. So I normally do like a kind of Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday, or a Monday.
What time do you have to leave to get into London at the right?
I'd kind of get up about 5:30. And then 5:30, 5:45, and then I've got to kind of leave my house about, I don't know, 6:15, something like that, and then I'm in the office for maybe 8, and then I leave generally about 5:36 and get home at kind of 7:30ish. Try to get home for 7, see the kids for half an hour if I can, but yeah, that does definitely take its toll. There's no getting away from it. I just try and stay down a little bit, although hotels in the City of London are not
Very adult.
yeah. So, but yeah, look, I love it. I love being in the office. I think the key thing is just making sure you get some kind of balance, right? And like I've tried everything from like meditation to red light therapy. I'm the listen to Stephen Bartlett video podcast, and I've probably tried everything he said. And some of it works, some of it's great, but I think it's just balance is the most.
You know, I was in Dubai last week, so I bought a flat out there. I told you, in that Ras Al Khaimah. So we went to see it, and we measured we were doing furniture shopping and stuff. So it was just me, my wife, and daughter. My 2 older kids went to Turkey with their grandparents for the week. It's half term, so I was like, you know what? We got a really strong month, like incredible month. The sales numbers were done. I was like, I've got nothing I need to do this week. Like, if I'm only dealing with something that probably can wait, even a problem, I've got 3 leaders around me. So I deleted email off my phone, deleted Slack, and I deleted LinkedIn. And I'd already created all my content for the week. So yeah, I'd literally had 7 days without checking any of it. And for the first couple of days, it was weird. Like,
yeah,
I check email all the time and just look, and it's not there. And I'm like, it's not there. And I was like, I could have like overrode it and put it back in, but I didn't. I was like, nah. And then LinkedIn being gone, I kept, because I purposely don't have it on my home screen. I have it like, I can just swipe down, and it's one of my most used apps. So I kept swiping down. It wasn't there. And yeah, it was mad. Because even my watch, my iWatch is dead, but that used to ping messages on my Slack because I couldn't work out how to turn it off. So honestly, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. It's tough. Obviously, my business is nearly 9 years old now. We're in a pretty robust place, but I still think it's sensible to take a few days here and there where you do switch it off, because it can take one email and then you're around the pool with your family and you're just not the same guy.
Yeah, I totally right. I always used to use it as kind of used to kind of wear it as a bit of a badge of honor, really. That I was like always online, and don't get me wrong. I mean, there's lots of clients that know me as that guy, and there's no doubt about it that they love the fact that I'm that guy. Like, if they
message you at 8:00 at night and you're
going to I'll take the phone call. So it's a bit of a balance, but yeah, I try to do that at weekends. Like I like, you mean, but you mean, I read a book actually not so long ago. I think it's called The Dose Effect or something like that, which is basically all about kind of like dopamine and like all that kind of stuff. And it's a real eye opener. So I've done the same with like Instagram and stuff like that, but I'm by no means perfect. I tried to be as diligent as possible with it all, but yeah, like that's actually, I mean, funnily enough, I'm going to I'm hopefully going to go to Dubai in January, but I looked at the thing I love about Christmas in our industry is it's kind of the only 2 weeks of the year you can just generally do that, because there's no point looking at your email, because from the 20-something second or something of December to about the 4th of Jan, and actually in insurance it's often about the 7th or 8th of Jan.
Yeah, I remember.
Nobody's texting your email.
Game, like, fucking hell, recruiters do not want to deal with you like after a certain point. I love that. Like, it's great.
Just the only kind of time you can kind of properly switch off, and so yeah, looking forward to that. But I wouldn't have it any other way, really. Like, it's just about balance, right? Try and do the best you possibly can. But
mate, I want to say well done. You I've always believed you'll do it. I'm really proud of what you've done. I think you guys are incredible. First year, the numbers they're amazing. And again, it's not just about the numbers, but it is a good story. Like, it genuinely gives confidence to people that they can go and do this. Like, it's not all doom and gloom. And there are plenty of sectors where, you are a very pro AI guy, but your AI and your investment in technology and brand and all the things we've spoken about is to give you more meetings, is to get you in more rooms. It's not to take you out of it. And that's what I believe in. All of this should be just put in more face to face, whether it be digitally or in person. We should be in more rooms and selling more, making more money. Like, that's the goal. And you're doing it. You're literally doing it. If anyone has listened and thought, wow, I need to speak to him, LinkedIn's okay to drop you a message.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and look, we're obviously going to start hiring at some point, so it'd be good to, if there's anyone that likes the sound of that, that'd be good. I'd be open to hear some people, but yeah, and look, and look, I don't think I've ever said it to you before, but thanks for doing the podcast, because I've listened to it for a very long time, and I've definitely it's probably given me a lot of confidence to kind of do what we're going to do. So it's
I still get messages like most days, people like who've started up in the first year, and that really is the kind of message I want to portray. Is building your own business is, it's possible and it's incredible, and for the right people, you should do it. So I appreciate that, mate. We'll get you back on again in 12 to 18 months time and see how phase 2 is going. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course, up for it, of course.
Top man. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the RAG podcast. If you haven't already, please do subscribe wherever you listen to this show, as the more subscribers we get, the more people will listen and the more recruitment owners we can help. As a recruitment founder, you must know that things are changing. AI is everywhere. Cold outreach is getting harder, and job boards, well, they're not what they used to be. But personally, despite the negativity, I believe the future is the greatest opportunity of our lifetime in recruitment, because for the first time ever, a founder with 5 recruiters with a clear niche and the right systems can build the kind of influence, reach, and profitability that used to take 500 recruiters and a global office network. The agencies that are winning right now aren't necessarily the biggest, but they are the most visible, the most trusted, and the ones building inbound demand. At Hoxo, we're working with clients who are running multiple 6 and 7 figures in net profit, outperforming the negative noise and headlines. So, to explain what these guys are doing, I've created a brand new free masterclass video for RAG listeners. In this video, it's less than 10 minutes long. I'm going to show you what these businesses are doing differently from the rest. So the link's in the description. Fill in the form, watch the video, and see exactly how this system that these clients are using could work for your agency. Good luck.